Okay, good evening, everyone. Time is now 6:33 p.m. I'd like to call the regular Cultural Heritage Commission meeting of December 15th, 2022 to order. Before I proceed, I want to take a moment to go over our meeting protocols for today. The South Pasadena Cultural Heritage Commission meeting for December 15th, 2022 will be conducted both in person and virtually via Zoom. To maximize public safety while still maintaining transparency and public access, members of the public can observe the meeting via Zoom. At this point, I'll ask staff to please take the roll call of the commission.
Commissioner Cross, Commissioner Morris, excused absence, Vice Chair Lopez,
Here.
Chair Gallatin,
Here,
you have quorum.
thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Commissioners and staff, do you have any requests for additions or revisions to tonight's agenda? If so, would you please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none, I would like a vote of the commission to proceed with approval of the agenda as submitted.
I vote to approve the agenda as submitted.
Okay, I believe that was a motion, right?
Oh, a
Yeah,
motion,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
I'll second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? None? Okay. Now, we're going to do disclosure of site visits and ex parte contacts. This is the disclosure by commissioners of site visits and ex parte contact for items on today's agenda. Commissioner Cross, do you have anything to report?
I did a drive-by and took a couple of photographs of Brunswick property.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. Vice Chair Lopez?
No site visits or contact.
And none for myself. So now is the time on our agenda for public comment. This is public comment on non-agenda items. Staff, have you received any public comment cards either here in the chambers or on Zoom?
We do not have any public comments in chambers, and we also do not have any public comments via Zoom.
Thank you. We'll next move on to our consent calendar items. We have 3 sets of minutes on tonight's consent calendar. Those are the minutes of the regular meetings of December 17th, 2020, November 18th, 2021, and February 7th, 2022. Since this is the consent calendar, we can take all items in one motion if someone would like to do so.
Motion to approve the meetings.
Okay, we have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, the 3 sets of minutes are approved. Now we come to the main event tonight, which is our one and only public hearing on the agenda. This is for a property at 1222 Brunswick Avenue, project number 2451 NID/DRX. It's a notice of intent to demolish for the proposed demolition of an existing single-family dwelling. And staff's recommendation is to approve the notice of intent to demolish and determine that the property does not meet national, state, or criteria for, or local criteria for historic designation. We have Associate Planner Braulio Madrid to present the staff report. Braulio?
Thank you, Chair, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to our last meeting for the year. I appreciate all of your time here. As mentioned, my name is Braulio Madrid, and I will be presenting to you the notice of intent to demolish for the property located on 1222 Brunswick Avenue. The subject site is located on the eastern side of Brunswick Avenue between Monterey Road and Cole Avenue. It is a rectangular shape that is bounded by single-family residences to the north, south, east, and west. The subject site at 1222 Brunswick Avenue was originally developed in 1946 with a single-family dwelling and an attached 2-car garage. The site is not included in the city's inventory of historic resources list, nor is it a contributor to a historic district. The applicant is requesting that the CHC review and validate the findings within the Historic Resource Evaluation Report, also known as an HRE, which determined that the property is ineligible as a historic resource at either the national, state, or local level. In accordance with the city's cultural resource ordinance, any structures that are over 45 years of age that are proposing a demolition and is not identified as a cultural resource requires the preparation of an intensive level HRE. The HRE presented tonight was prepared by the city selected consultants, Dudek Consultant. The HRE determined that the property was not a significant example of an architectural style. It was not designed by a master architect, nor is a contributor to a historic district. Therefore, staff recommends that the Cultural Heritage Commission determine that the property does not meet the national, state, or local criteria for historic designation, and that the property may proceed through the city's application process for a NID and DRX application. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Braulio, for that report. I'll ask my fellow commissioners now, does anyone have any questions for staff?
No questions.
No questions.
No questions. Do we have, or I should say, does the applicant have a presentation they'd like to make?
The applicant does not have a presentation. However, he is here to answer questions as well as our consultants via Zoom.
Okay, great. And do my fellow commissioners, anyone have any questions for either the applicant here in person or the consultants that prepared the HRE who are with us on Zoom?
No question.
No questions.
No questions. Okay, now I need to open the public hearing. We'll open the public hearing and take comments. Staff, were there any comments submitted for this item?
There are no public comments in chambers. If any guest on Zoom would like to ask any questions, please raise your hands. We do not.
Right, very good. I guess we'll close the public hearing then, and we can have commission discussion. Whoever would like to start, if you have something you want to discuss regarding this application.
Not
Seems-
necessarily regarding this application, but the process I'd like to discuss after this is taken care of.
Certainly, okay.
Seems like a pretty straightforward requirement,
Mhm.
request, so I have no problem with it.
Okay. Yeah, likewise, this is the rare item that I don't have any questions or comments on. It really, if anything qualifies as a slam dunk, it's this. The report from Dudek was very well prepared, very thorough, thoroughly researched and thoroughly documented. I appreciate their work on it. So if there are no further items to discuss, or no further discussion regarding this item, I would ask for a motion and a second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the demolition of the structure has submitted. Is that what that's not necessarily what we're approving, isn't it?
I believe staff's recommendation was to approve the notice of intent to demolish and determine that the property does not meet the national, state, or local criteria for historic designation.
That is the motion I'm making.
All right.
Well said.
Can I
I'll
get a
second.
second? Okay. Commissioner Cross, did you, before we vote on this, did you want to have further discussion regarding the process now or?
No, I'll wait for comments from.
Okay,
commission.
very good. So we have a motion and a second, then staff, if we could take roll.
Commissioner Cross,
Approved.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Gallatin,
Yes.
motion carries.
Hey,
Thank you and congratulations.
I would like to see the house you're building in there. That would be nice. It's good. But it doesn't come to us. It goes to the design review
DRB,
board. So
yeah.
I'll keep an eye.
All right.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. So next to the next item on the agenda. or still
Yes, okay. Sorry, a little slow. Yes, next on the agenda is a discussion regarding the Historic Resources Survey update.
Yes, thank you, Chair Gallatin, Vice Chair Lopez, and Commissioner Cross. So the item before you tonight is more update of upcoming work schedule, work update for the staff.
Mhm.
So as staff understood, the last historical research we had is back in 2015, 2017, and it was done by consultant at that time. However, it is staff's understanding that the survey was conducted and there's several public meetings, hearings, and also went to city council, but the survey wasn't adopted for a variety of reasons. So since we have a new kind of staff coming on board, and is staff's recollection that this item is one of the work program for the upcoming year. So staff would like to kind of pick up the where it was left off, and what the next step process, and staff will be preparing an RFP, request for proposal, to kind of go out there to get a different variety of consultants to get the best qualified consultant to prepare this historical resource survey update, and we'll circle back with this commission to find out the progress and what kind of consultant, how many consultants submit the bid, and also the cost, and also if select a consultant will be selected, of course, we'll take it to city council for kind of a contract and also a budget appropriation for that amount. So the item tonight is more give commission an update that staff will prepare an RFP, will likely go out next January or February, go out for some couple weeks and see what kind of a result we'll get from the consulting firms, and also how much it will cost as well. And as staff understand that, we're probably kind of breaking the different phase, whether do a comprehensive overall, and also just or kind of focus on the existing inventory. So we'll see what happens with the RFP we receive. But staff would like to welcome any comments or any history that commission or even council liaison the NIMA can provide, since I wasn't here back in the days. Any recollection, can remember any feedback, suggestion that you can provide, that would be helpful as staff preparing an RFP.
Matt, I know you're just at the beginning of this process. Do you have any sense yet of the time frame involved? Is this a survey that's going to be completed in the current fiscal year, or do you see it continuing on past July 1st?
It is definitely going to be more than this fiscal year. So I'm anticipating if the RFP going out in January or February, we'll give it 3 weeks for the firm to respond. And also we have to take the contract to city council to get approved. So likely won't start until May, June, or even next fiscal year. So hopefully you can use some of the money for this year, but also some of the money for next fiscal years to complete our survey. And also we'll have to see how much the consulting firms are going to charge us. Look at the budget purposes too.
Sure. All right. Any other questions for Matt about the survey update?
Not necessarily. I just so the update would be kind of what was the strategy would be to kind of review the ones that the structures that are part of the listing right now, and then further determine if they should remain in there or not, kind of thing.
Yes, so the approach could be looking at existing inventory to see what are being appropriate altered in the past. It is my understanding there are other houses that were on the inventory, which they shouldn't be, because we didn't, I guess, sometimes we do a survey that we didn't do all the record search, realize, hey, for example, that second story wasn't original to begin with. I think there's some cases that we took it to this commission. We brought building permit record that the second story wasn't even original, but the house itself is identified as a cultural resource. So the consultant's job may have to do either be a comprehensive update or just select it based on the period of time, or even the more recent, because the last official survey was back in 2002. Of course, we have to look at everything that's 45 years older, and we have to look at the more kind of modern era, the 50, the 60, probably even the 70s houses, to see if they should be included or should be delisted. So good.
You sort of answered the question I was going to ask, which was in the 2017 survey, it basically consisted of 3 parts. One was a review of all the existing properties on the inventory. The second part was a review of those properties that were in the path of the former 710 freeway extension, that in many cases had been analyzed for historic significance by Caltrans through their environmental review. And then the third and final part had to do with what I guess we would call the mid-century modern era. And I think the parameters for that in the last survey were 1935 to 1972. Do you see, or do you foresee at this point, those parameters changing this time around, or likely to be the same three?
I think that that's probably a starting point, and we can work with the consultant to figure out how much the budget's for that perspective, and also how much budget for even a bigger scope.
Mhm.
So, but I think that's definitely a good starting point, because at least we have something built in from the last survey. So maybe we can reuse some of the information. Hopefully, can save some of the items here and there on the budget. But that's definitely a good starting point. So.
Mhm. My last question, is the CHC going to have an opportunity to review the RFP before it goes out?
It is, I'm kind of still new to the city. It is my understanding that RFP issue doesn't go to commission, because you be handled by staff level, also our city attorney's office. But however, staff will definitely welcome any suggestion that CHC can provide, so can include it as part of RFP. But however, the RFP itself won't go in front of the commission. There's more between staff and also city attorney office for publication, for notifications.
Okay, and just so you know, I still have all my stacks of paper from 5 years ago, when this went through the various community meetings and public hearings and up to council. So if the silverfish haven't eaten it yet, I offer that to staff. If you guys need to locate something that maybe you can't find, I probably have it.
We definitely will take advantage. We definitely accept that offer. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Okay, now we come to the administration part of the meeting, and we always begin that with comments from our city council liaison, and that's Councilmember Evelyn Znaimer.
Yes. I was having coffee with Delane Shane, one of the residents in District 2, and here comes Josh Albrechtson filming. We were having coffee at Caldi's, and he informed us that the building will be demolished because if the developer is proposing 20% affordable housing, it is automatically slated for demolition.
Mhm.
So I don't know if this commission write-off would know if Caldi's is a historic or a contributor to historic significance.
It is. It's actually a city landmark because it was the first bank building in South Pasadena. Yeah.
That is actually what I said
Yeah.
to him, and he said it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I had a coffee encounter with Dr. Albrechtson as well last week at Starbucks. And he also informed me, he says, just want to give you guys a heads up in the preservation community that under state law, any property that the city shows on its maps in the housing element as designated as a possible site for low-income housing, they have to allow by right development there. And so, I know a little bit about housing elements, having worked on them in my career. I've never heard of that law. I asked him for a citation to the section. He didn't have it off the top of his head. Fortunately, I was able to meet with our new Deputy Community Development Director, Allison Becker, and I asked her about it. Likewise, she was not aware of anything in current state law that would, support that assertion. So
Yeah,
I don't know, Allison, did you want to add anything to
Oh,
that?
Let's see, does that work? Okay, good. Allison Becker, the new Deputy Director for Community Development. I was in fact just going to inform the commission that we did submit our 4th draft of the housing element this Monday. And yes, it does include the downtown specific plan area, which contains historic resources. that does not in any way suggest that those resources will be targeted for redevelopment. They are simply a part of this larger specific plan area.
All right.
Well,
Very
thank
good.
you. I was a little bit distressed.
I'm sure it that would be distressing. And I suspect that Josh may have hoped that that was going to be the case. I'll also just say, I'll take my item out of order and say happy holidays
Right.
and congratulations on running a really efficient, quick meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Same to you.
Anything else, council members, Snyder?
No, nothing else. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
That doesn't sound right in any. I don't know.
Yeah, I've
I
never
mean,
encountered it, and I know there's been a slew of changes to housing element law since I retired, but that's a new one on me.
Demolish a historical.
Yeah,
building
because you're still,
What?
you would still be subject to CEQA, I would think, and certainly if something is a city landmark, it qualifies as a historic resource under CEQA. So I don't think it is quite that simple, but I would welcome, again, a citation if there's a section of state law that I could read for myself, but so far, none's been forthcoming.
Actually said, I'll see you in court.
Okay. We'll go on now to comments from commissioners, and I think this would be the time, Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
to have our discussion about the
Yes,
HRE and demolition process.
I just, I was puzzled. Why are they doing this large report on this? And then reading the report, it's required by the general plan. And it seems to me that developers or people wanting to make alterations to their house shouldn't have to go through all of that when it's so obvious that a building is not a landmark. And I think we ought to look at an amendment and maybe bring photographs to the commission or whatever and say, no, no report required, or do a report. And I just think it's unnecessary, certainly in this case. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And I just see that I've dealt with a lot of developers over my career, and it's things like this that anger them. And then you deal with an angry developer. And it just makes life more difficult for all. And I would just like to see it revisited.
Vice Chair Lopez, any thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. I'm not sure how we go about I think maybe bring it to the commission before the analysis is made. Because to me, it's more, I mean, if I'm a homeowner, I mean, spending an extra $6,000 to $10,000 it's significant, right? It's no pennies, and it's money that I was gonna spend on the addition or the house or whatever. So I mean, I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think certainly when the requirement was put into the preservation ordinance back in 2017, I think it was well intentioned. And we've had 5 years to work with it now. And I can see certainly cases like the one tonight where you kind of scratch your head and say, why are we even discussing this? It's obvious, as you say, but I'm not sure what would be the process to replace it, because somebody or some body is going to have to make the decision that an HRE is required or isn't. That would either be staff or this commission, I would imagine. So I know that, and this is kind of for Allison's benefit and Matt's benefit, since they're relatively new, there was some discussion in the last year or two with staff who was here at the time about creating sort of an HRE light, I'll call it, for demolition requests for accessory buildings like garages, and so forth. That both the commission and staff felt that a full-blown HRE like we have for this project tonight was a little bit excessive for say an accessory building or an outbuilding like a garage. And I think if I recall, a prior staff member even put together like an outline or a template of what things might be included in this so-called HRE light. So I don't know if that's still kicking around the office, but you might want to familiarize yourself with that.
Allison Becker again. Braulio will remember that I asked him the same question, the very same question this afternoon
Yeah.
as I was reviewing the staff report. So we're I appreciate the background that you've had the ordinance in place for about 5 years, and there may be an opportunity to kind of glean lessons from the experience and make some adjustments. I think particularly in this moment in time where we're about to adopt a housing element which has you know, a very ambitious target for housing production. The state will absolutely be looking to us to continue to find ways to make it easier to build housing. So yeah, so I think we can take a look at maybe or have another conversation, review kind of past experiences, and maybe bring forward some recommendations in the coming year that would help to address that.
Very good. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing that, you know, in the housing element, one of the things that the state wants every city to do is try to identify obstacles or barriers to building more housing. And I could certainly see them zeroing in on something like this and saying, you know, obstacle. So I'm really encouraged to hear that you're open to a further discussion on it. Thank you, Allison. All right. Anything further, Commissioner Cross?
No, that's my concern tonight.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner, or sorry, Vice Chair Lopez.
No comment.
Okay. And I presume no comments from subcommittees. So we'll move to comments from the South Pasadena Preservation Foundation liaison. I just have two things to report with respect to SPPF. One is earlier this afternoon, some of our team from SPPF concluded our inspections of the unoccupied Caltrans owned properties. We looked at 4 buildings, 5 units. One was a duplex today, and we did 4 last week, I believe. So we've now completely had a chance to go inside and look at each of those vacant Caltrans properties. And the purpose of it, this was result of a memorandum of understanding between the city and SPPF that was executed this past July to draw on our expertise in historic preservation to, number one, go out and look at the character defining features of each of these homes, some of which had already been documented by Caltrans, but like 15, 20 years ago. So checking those to see if they've changed, if they've been altered in any way. And then secondly, for a handful of the properties, there had been no determination in prior surveys as to whether they were eligible for state or national listing. And so we gathered the information necessary to make a determination on that. So I want to thank staff, especially Leah Demarest and Allison Becker, who accompanied us on those inspections, and our team, which included Odom Stamps, Debbie Howlard-Dilla, and Jennifer Troteau. And so glad to report that that process is done. And now the city will take that information and use it in the preparation of estimates of the value of these houses and the repair costs that are going to be likely to be incurred from whoever buys them, because I believe the city's intent is to sell them as is. Excuse me. Second thing to report from SPPF is we're now undertaking an effort to seek California landmark designation for El Adobe Flores. El Adobe Flores, for those that don't know, is on Foothill, just north of Garfield Park. And it was built in, well, several years, starting in the late 1830s, completed 1843. It's the oldest home in South Pasadena. And it's significant because it's the place where the Californios, this was the northernmost outpost of Mexico at that time in the 1840s. And this was during the Mexican-American War. And this was the place where the treaty, which was signed over near Universal Studios, called the Treaty of Cahuenga, which ceded Mexican California to the United States. That's where that treaty was negotiated. Flores was the commanding officer at the time. And after they worked out the terms of the secession at the Adobe, then they went over to the Cahuenga Pass and met the forces led by the American forces led by John C. Fremont, and they signed the Treaty of Cahuenga, ceding again the territory we now know as California to the United States. So it's a city landmark. It's on the National Register, but it doesn't have state landmark status yet. And so thanks to one of our board members, Dr. Felix Gutierrez, he's kind of led the charge for this. And we actually have a site visit next week, right, Allison? I believe Wednesday morning. A few of us are going to be meeting out there. And a few of us had a meeting with the property owner a week or two ago, and she's very much in favor of pursuing the designation. We want to take a look at the area, basically from the street to where the Adobe sits, to see some of that space may be appropriate for some sort of either interpretive signage or maybe public artwork. But we also want to respect the fact that the Adobe is a private residence and there are people living there. So there's not a real clear delineation now between public, semi-private, and private space there. So it's an opportunity to address that as well. So just wanted to make the commission aware of those efforts. I believe it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, 9 a.m. On Wednesday. Okay, I will turn to staff and ask if you have any comments. Oh, actually, you know what? I wanted to say two things under comments for commissioners. So let me backtrack to that. First thing I want to say is thank you to the planning staff for addressing the issue I raised a couple meetings ago about the sign on Fremont Avenue, just south of Huntington. I see that that's gone now. Looks like the business has been replaced by a new business of similar type. But that very contemporary channel letter sign is gone. So thank you for that. Secondly, I wanted to alert the commission or make the commission aware of the efforts of a lady who works here at City Hall named Evelyn Dolphin. And Evelyn, I had the pleasure of working with her for several years at the city of San Gabriel. She's joined us here in South Pasadena now, and she's the one that has been devoting all her time to getting us caught up on the minutes. So I just wanted to go on the record to say how much we appreciate and we thank Evelyn's efforts in getting through that backlog of old minutes. Okay, staff, your turn.
Allison Becker for the record. I do not have anything else to add.
Allison, is there any truth to the rumor that we have an award winner in the chambers with us tonight?
An award winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, there must be an award winner.
I hear he's sitting at the back row there. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. Someone in the chambers today received an acknowledgement for his excellence in service to the city of South Pasadena
Wow.
from the mayor.
Ooh.
And that would be our very own planning manager.
Very good. Congratulations, Matt. Richly deserved. All right. Well, if we have nothing else tonight, I'll call for adjournment of the regular Cultural Heritage Commission meeting to our next scheduled meeting, which is Thursday, January 19th, 2023 at 6:30 PM. And the time is now 7:08 PM, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.